Salukis by 3. It's the Old Spice Classic consolation semifinal, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. Well, one of our finalists set. We saw it earlier today. Jimmy Dykes, Arkansas. It was tight early against Marist.
Well, because of the play of Jared Jordan, the point guard for Marist, he controlled the pace of the ball game early. But then Sonny Weems for Arkansas really started emerging as kind of a go-to guy for Stan Heath. The bigs took over the second half for Arkansas by getting their face-up game going. Patrick Beverly with a really exclamation point late in the ball game that kind of drove things home for him. And Arkansas finds himself now in the finals of the inaugural Old Spice Classic.
They will hang out, await the winner of Western Michigan and West Virginia. That game later today. The championship on Sunday here from Disney's Wild World of Sports Complex.
Minnesota with a 1-3-1. Token pressure out of the timeout. Now back to their 2-3 zone. Look out.
Falker on the lob, couldn't get it to go, and it'll be turned over. Minnesota ball.
Dan Munson told his kids, but before the ball game, to just get ready for a fight. And when you get hit the first time, it's not going to feel good, but you have to get up and hit back, because we want to be in this thing in the 15th round. We can't get knocked out in the first or second round, and they've done exactly what he's asked them to do.
Travel called right there, Jimmy. It's got to be a little bit in part due to tracing the ball. One of the things you talked about yesterday.
Don't they do a beautiful job of it? Chris Lowry out of that Gene Cady, Bruce Weber, Matt Painter family, and they put a premium on that, applying pressure and heat to the basketball, and at the same time tracing it with a hand. If you're not strong with the ball, if you're Minnesota today, you'll have more turnovers.
Good block by Coleman. Minnesota the other way, down 3.
Watch the active hands of the guys in white. They move their feet well, and their hands really trace that basketball wherever it goes.
Shaw pulls down a tough board, and Jamaal Tatum trying to get it going on the other end. He's their leading scorer. That's a 2, and it's short. Kevin Payton into the front court. Redshirt freshman had shoulder surgery. And a turnover there. So a little bit sloppy on both ends offensively.
I mean, Payton is 6'9", dribbled the ball all the way to the corner, then tried to throw a wrap around, almost behind the back pass when the game was still in transition. That's a turnover waiting to happen against a team that can't guard, much less a team that does guard.
Good cut to the hoop. Shaw couldn't get it to go, but he'll shoot 2. Matt Shaw been a big part of the offense in the first half.
Well, you're right about a nice cut to the hoop by Shaw. He's an inside-outside threat, and in order for him to score on the interior, he starts on the perimeter and cuts hard. I mean, it's a gut cut from the side by Shaw. And he started that play at the 18-foot mark, but then just, boom, hard basket cut to Shaw. And that Hercules upper body gets himself to the free throw stripe quite a bit. Played on the same AAU team, the St. Louis Eagles, as Tyler Hansbrough. 2 rugged guys on the AAU circuit, weren't they?
Big time.
He doesn't drink soft drinks. So when I read that, I said, no more soft drinks for me either. And a year from now, I'm going to look like that right there. My shoulders, no soft drinks. You see me a year from now, that's what I'm going to look like.
All right.
Worked for him.
And soon to follow the Jimmy Dykes fitness video. Because mine will not be coming out anytime soon. Lamar Wilson into the front court. Southern Illinois leading by 5.
Do not dribble in that corner and pick up the basketball. 3 or 4 times in this first half. That's exactly what Minnesota has done. McKenzie should know that. I mean, he's a junior. He played at Oklahoma for 2 years. He sit out as a redshirt. That's a mistake that a freshman guard makes, not an experienced guy.
So timeout on the court. Southern Illinois leading by 5. The Old Spice Classic, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. Minnesota, Southern Illinois here in Orlando, the Milk House. John Sciambia alongside Jimmy Dykes, Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex. Gorgeous facility. Southern Illinois losing a tough one yesterday to Arkansas. Lost by 8 in overtime. Didn't score in overtime.
Their shooting numbers, Southern Illinois, traditionally they kind of scare you because they really labor to score. They don't have a true post, and that also kind of hurts them in the offensive set.
Minnesota ball down 5. And again, the pressure on McKenzie, looking to step through, looking for help. Mullins almost with a steal. Smith drills that one. Brandon Smith, 2-point game.
And because Minnesota was able to reverse the basketball from this side of the floor to the other when the double team came on top of them, that's what got 23 in maroon an open jump shot. Because Southern Illinois was trapping hard out top, but they reverse it to the middle of the floor. Then you do the right thing, swing it to the opposite side. You should have a shooter spotted up, ready to knock one down.
Feed in for Falker, gets away. And it'll be a jump ball. It'll be Minnesota basketball with the possession arrow. Jimmy, do you like the possession arrow?
Yeah, I do. I do like the possession arrow. I think it helps speed up the play of the game. It takes the bad tosses out of the officials' hands, which you used to see a lot. Throwing the ball straight up and down at the proper height is not easy to do. I have no problem with it.
Southern Illinois leading by 2. And coming up on Saturday, Feast Week presented by Lowe's rolls on. The Las Vegas Invitational. #1 Florida taking on #12 Kansas. Couple of teams with all 5 starters back.
And maybe the most important thing about the possession arrow, it allows us to do promos.
That's exactly right.
See, because if you didn't have it, you'd be jumping the ball and you couldn't miss action. So it's a huge thing.
That's a very good point. McKenzie running to show Lawrence McKenzie. Toss to the corner, and on the 3-point attempt, Brandon Smith is fouled.
John, Minnesota's not doing anything complex in their offense, but they're keeping pretty good spacing off of one another, and they're just moving the basketball, trying to move people, and doing a decent job of being strong with the ball against Chris Lowry's check-your-breath defense. They're sweeping the ball from one side to the other, trying to get the defense off of them, finding the open guy, hanging in this ball game because of it.
Brandon Smith hits the first. You see #1, bottom of your screen, Lawrence McKenzie. Smith and McKenzie were high school teammates in Minneapolis. And Smith hits all 3. First lead of the game for Minnesota. Golden Gophers by a point. A little bit of pressure here. The Salukis break it, and Mullins will set it up.
The zone has bothered Southern Illinois. Bad foul.
Yeah, right there, Damian Johnson fouling Jamaal Tatum in the corner. He'll go to the line for 3.
Johnson 6'7". Trying to defend the jump shot of 6'2" Jamaal Tatum. No reason to bring your hands forward. Just if you want to jump, that's fine, but make sure you go straight up.
Tatum, very good player, was suspended for the first 2 exhibition games and their first game of the year because of a DUI in March. A really dynamic offensive player.
He's got juice in his game, and he's got a motor. He's relentless as a worker defensively. He's relentless in the half court as far as moving with and without the basketball. Has a lot of confidence in his stroke. A bad foul just cost Minnesota 3 points.
Nice move by Tallexson, couldn't get it to go. Salukis the other way, leading by 2. Falker, the big guy, kicks out Shaw. Young spots for 3. Brandon Smith ahead. Here comes Wilson. Blocked by Falker, but a foul is called. Randal Falker certainly got a piece of the basketball with the arm. Might have gotten the bump with the body.
Boy, but he exploded at the rim, didn't he? Randal Falker comes in on top of number 5 in room. Meet the Falkers. I'm here waiting on you.
All right, Carl, thanks very much. Here in Orlando, Southern Illinois leading Minnesota by 2. Feast week presented by Lowe's in the Old Spice Classic. How you doing?
She's doing well. What a better way to spend Thanksgiving than with your daughter on your lap at Disney World watching hoops.
Spencer Tollickson back today for Dan Munson's group, and he's been a help. Missed yesterday's game because of a stomach virus. On Tuesday, Tollickson had a brilliant game against Iowa State. 24 points, 13 rebounds. Did come at a loss, but.
Yeah, we were talking about Larry Coker earlier. Between ball games, we're on with the guys back in the studio, and you made a great point. Larry Coker going into this season had won more football games over the last 3 or 4 years than any coach out there in the country. In 1 year with the off-field issues and things, and they throw in the yellow flag on him, and I think he's got to resurface. He's too good of a person. It's their decision to make a change, and I expect guys like Greg Schiano and Rich Rodriguez from West Virginia. Barry Alvarez names have been mentioned to come in here and clean it up a little bit maybe. Houston Nutt, I think, could creep into that conversation.
Wilson to the goal. So quick, but couldn't finish. Boyle the board, out the other way. Speaking of quick, Tatum the lob. Couldn't get it to go. Matt Shaw blew the bunny. A 1-point affair here inside the Milk House. Arkansas has already won. They are in the finals. Tollickson double team.
No, that will not work against Southern Illinois. A habit pass across the lane.
Nice job by Mullins, and the foul. Bryan Mullins to the line.
Spencer Tollickson from Minnesota was doubled on the block, and when he went to face up and try to throw a diagonal pass, it was just kind of a habit, lazy, soft pass. And against a Southern Illinois team that likes to chew you up defensively, that is not going to work. Not on Thursday, not on Friday, not on Saturday or Sunday. They lie there and wait for those type of opportunities.
Especially a guy like this. It was first team all defense in the Missouri Valley. Bryan Mullins, freshman of the year last year in the conference.
Boy, he's tough. He looks like a college wrestler. Would be, about that 147, 148 pound division. Would drop about 10. Be hard to handle him, man.
Young stepping in. Tatum banging for a steal. How about that? On one knee, starts the dribble, picks it up. Under 2 to go, first half. Salukis by 4.
A lot of contact on that play. If you're Minnesota, you know you're not going to get every call because of how physical Southern Illinois is. You just have to cinch it up and keep going.
Young isolating on Lamar Wilson. Can't get it to go. Foul called there as Tollickson absorbs the contact. It'll be 1-1. Got Tony Boyle on the foul.
Tollickson, the kind of kid that he has to play really, really hard to be effective, and he's done that. And this is a guy that Wednesday night from about 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning, he was out with a stomach virus. They finally diagnosed it. Thought for first it was appendicitis. Did not play yesterday. Has not been able to keep food down. So he's getting by on just sheer guts and determination in this ball game.
Bryce Webster stepping on the sideline. Want to correct that. That was only the 6th-team foul at Southern Illinois, so it was not 1-1. A turnover here, Southern Illinois basketball. 1:17 to go first half. Salukis leading the Golden Gophers by 4.
I think Minnesota's held their own in the toughness department in this ball game, which is one of the 3 or 4 things you have to check off your list anytime you play Southern Illinois.
Golden Gophers lost all 5 starters from last year. And the Salukis have all 5 back. With hands there on the Minnesota side, it'll stay Salukis basketball.
Well, the guards of Minnesota, when the ball goes to the high post elbow area, the 2 guards up top are really coming in and fighting and scratching and digging up at that basketball.
9 on the shot clock. Mullins going to work. Feeds Tatum. Off balance 3. High arcing shot, but Shaw the rebound. Tatum. Young over Tullochson couldn't get it to go, and Bryce Webster helps bring it the other way for Minnesota.
I'd take one. I'd take one right here if I'm Minnesota. At worst, you go in down 4. If you hit that last shot, there's only about 1 second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Well, you've had a pretty successful first half, but don't let Southern Illinois throw in a momentum basket right at the end of the first 20 minutes.
This the freshman Westbrook got to go. 6 on the shot clock. Westbrook to the goal. Off glass, no good. Webster the board. Stepped on the baseline. And with 3.5 seconds to go in the first half, it'll be Salukis basketball.
Plenty of time for Southern Illinois to get a pass into one of their guards' hands and have at least 3 bounces with 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get it off. Wham! That's why you take the last shot of the first half.
Jamaal Tatum.
Westbrook penetrated with about 8 on the shot clock, and it gives Minnesota a headache heading into the locker room. Tatum with 3.5 seconds to go had time for 3 or 4 bounces, and on the 4th bounce, he elevates right into his shot. And again, he's going forward, but when he goes to shoot, he goes straight up. Watch him elevate. Stop, pop, wham. Big momentum basket for Southern Illinois at the half.
Southern Illinois leads it by 7. Time now to head back to the studio. The Salukis with the lead. Here is Carl Ravitch.
John Shelby, thank you very much. Big time shot there at the buzzer as we continue to follow college basketball here on ESPN2. We'll get the thoughts of Doug Gottlieb and Tom Brennan in just a second. Obviously, the big story from the sports world today involves football, and Larry Coker at the U is out. Even after his victory over BC last night, he said, "I hope to be here for a long, long time." 12 hours later, he was dismissed. He's got 3 seasons left on a contract that paid him about $2 million annually. Larry probably won't be out of a job for long.
I don't feel that joy, that excitement around our program right now and I want to see that come back, and it will come back, and I don't know the direction they're going to go here. I'm disappointed that I'm not going to be a part of it, but I just really believe that there's going to be some great things happening for this program, and I think it's just on the kind of on the cutting edge, and sometimes a new personality can be good for that.
Obviously, he certainly doesn't feel this way, but you get the sense from his words he's encouraged by where Miami's going to go in the future, partly because the players he brought in can help build this program back to where it was. They're going to get a search committee immediately. The AD, Paul D. stays. Of course, the names that we've heard so far: Barry Alvarez, Greg Schiano, Steve Cragthorpe of Tulsa, another one. For more on the Coker firing, let's go to John Saunders in New York with the ABC football guys.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. 3 years ago, Larry Coker was one of the hottest coaches on the college scene. He had gone to back-to-back national championships. He won one, lost one in overtime to Ohio State. Suddenly, things start going bad on and off the field. Is this a fair firing, though?
Well, I don't know that anything is really fair anymore, but I think this is the right thing to do. There's so much controversy going on at Miami right now. They need to clean the slate. But I want you to know this. Larry Coker is a good human being, and he's a heck of a football coach. Make no mistake about that. They've lost a good man and a good football coach. Now the administration, they got to come in there and find a way to get something done.
And I totally agree with you on Larry Coker. And the other key is he will coach again, and he will get a job because he's a terrific coach. And not only that, athletic director Paul D has to have a marquee guy waiting in the wings. Because if this drags on another 3 or 4 weeks on announcing the new head coach, and if it's not a wow guy, they're going to have problems down at Miami.
And I'll tell you why, because, you know, recruiting's going on right now. You know, recruiting is critical right now. And if they're not out there with a plan that Mark's talking about here, Miami's going to lose players. There are players all over the state right now looking for a place to go.
But there are people around the country who believe right now, Mark, that this is not a great job anymore.
It isn't. If you look at this job 3 or 4 years ago, yes, it's a great job. Right now, if you look at Miami, the bar is always here. They want to win national championships. If you're a good coach, if you're a Rich Rodriguez, a Greg Schiano, why would you take this job? Stay where you are. You're winning where you are right now.
And Steve Cragthorpe at Tulsa, he's mentioned right now as a guy that might come in there, but Steve's looking for a place where it's good for his family. I'm not so sure that going in is going to be easy at Miami right now.
Larry Coker will coach the bowl game if they go to one. They're bowl eligible at 6-6. Back to you.
All right, John, thank you guys very much. We'll come back. The thoughts of our man Doug and Coach Tom Brennan. Feast Week continues. Highlights of the Marist game, plus Maryland and Wisconsin.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. This year, there's no place like Lowe's for the holidays. Lowe's, let's build something together.
I'm eating this amazing chicken enchilada. Gooey sauce, melty cheese, but it's...
Inchophobia, fear of messy enchiladas. I have just the thing, a chicken enchilada. No, the sauce and cheese are on the inside.
Genius.
Please, doctor.
Taco Bell's chicken enchilada grilled stuffed burrito. Smothered enchilada taste, wrapped up and grilled to go. For more enchilada taste and less enchilada price, think outside the bun.
Who cried? I did.
Not me.
It was a sad ending and everything. I
saw you with your hand in your chin.
That's called concentrating on the moment. I wasn't crying, okay? I mean, seriously, I don't know why you got...
Rated T for teen. She will become the voice of hope. In the midst of a devastating war, they will fight for the future. Final Fantasy XII, available now.
Three incomplete homework assignments. 5 movie trailers stopped midstream. 13 important phone calls missed.
When you've got dial-up, you can miss out on so much. Now, you don't have to anymore. Not when you can get high-speed Verizon Online DSL for a really low price. And you can do so much more, like click and connect to the net in an instant. Talk on the phone and surf the web at the same time on the same line. Download photos faster than ever before. Just call 1-866-545-9322. That's 1-866-545-9322 to get Verizon Online DSL for about what you've been paying for dial-up and see what you've been missing.
32 photos of grandson opened. 347 favorite disco tunes downloaded.
Phone, broadband, TV, Verizon.
We're back in between the halves. Matty Shaw firing from deep. Tatum hit one at the buzzer, and as a result, it is the Salukis up by 7 over the Gophers, 28-21. Good game coming up, 4:30 Eastern Time. Carolina and Tennessee. That one's going to be seen on ESPN. See how Tyler Hansbrough and company bounce back after the loss to the Zags. Zags take on Butler tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. That is Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off. All of a sudden, it's tied.
Got ourselves a ball game. Wisconsin, most people, including my favorite to win the Big Ten. Missouri State had a 15-point lead, but here comes Skansen and Lando Tucker.
He's got 22.
You know what? Good teams do this. They get down and they come back, and that's why they're number 7 in the country.
All right, speaking of good teams, Wisconsin's 4-0. Maryland is currently 6-0. They're at home getting it done down low. 6'8" power forward James Gift. And DJ Strawberry's off to a very good start.
Well, this team is playing with great energy, and one reason is DJ Strawberry, playing in his more natural wing position, has become a scorer, become a leader this year.
And Gary Williams will tell you he has nothing to prove, and he really doesn't have anything to prove, but he believes he does.
Which one, Williams or Strawberry?
Williams.
Gary doesn't.
Yes.
19-11. The Strawberry's averaging almost 17 a game. We'll keep you posted on this one, as well as that Wisconsin game during the second half. Earlier, Arkansas and Marist off the rebound. James Smith, who seemed more comfortable shooting outside than inside, he had 18.
James Smith is really going to be a factor in that league because he's dominant on the inside. He's almost 7 feet tall, and he can go step out and shoot the three. Stretch the defense.
That was Charles Thomas. This is Patrick Beverly. Athleticism. Insight from Gottlieb with the Arkansas 7.
I get paid for.
Marist 64. We'll return one look at Texas A&M and the Longhorns.
As we get ready for second half action, the Salukis leading Minnesota by 7. It's Feast Week presented by Lowe's here at the Old Spice Classic. John Chomby alongside Jimmy Dykes. Tightly contested first half, but a little momentum boost for the Salukis to end the half.
Yeah, a huge shot because it was a 4-point game, and Minnesota doesn't take the very last shot of the half. Allows 3.5 seconds for Jamaal Tatum to come down and stick one. And again, it's worth 3 points, but maybe even more than that because Southern Illinois carried a lot of momentum into the locker room, and really was a gut shot to Minnesota to end the half. And I think you take the very last shot, especially in this kind of a ball game. You go from a 4-point game to a 7-point game when it's only 28-21. It's amplified.
Salukis basketball to start the second half with that 7-point advantage. Bryan Mullins handling the basketball, and a turnover immediately. Lawrence McKenzie the other way, fouled on the floor by Mullins. Foul on Mullins, a sophomore from Downers Grove, Illinois. Freshman of the year in the Missouri Valley last year. First foul on him.
Well, not great productivity out of their bigs, but again, Tollickson wasn't even for sure he's going to play today because the last 48 hours he's been battling a strong stomach virus. Dan Munson just hoping to get a few minutes out of a time from Spencer Tollickson.
A couple of quick fouls on the Salukis. That one on Tony Young. He'll sit down. Wesley Clemmons, the sophomore from Indianapolis, will check in. Brandon Smith handling, and now Lamar Wilson.
Minnesota starting to sweep that basketball when they get the catch. You sweep it to get that defense off of you.
Smith going over the back, foul on him. And on Brandon Smith, that will be number 4.
John, neither team shot the ball well. You expect that from Minnesota against a tough man-to-man defense of Southern Illinois. Look at the points off of turnovers, though. Salukis awfully good at ripping it and running to the other end and putting it in the basket. Southern Illinois perfect from the free throw stripe.
Salukis last year on the defensive end, number 4 in the nation in points per game allowed, 56.5. Now that's defense to be sure. It's also part of the pace that they like to play at. Shaw off the mark. Good board there. Falker has it rim out. And Shaw again, another rebound. So even though the Salukis undersized, they're two bigs, Falker and Shaw, doing the yeoman's work down low.
You know, you talked about the pace that Southern Illinois likes to play at. Most people think you control the pace of a ball game by how you play offensively. I disagree completely. You control the pace of the game by how you play defensively, because these guys in white, they will defend the entire possession, so you don't get quick, good shots against Southern Illinois. So as a result, the game, a lot of times, you're running through your offense, and it's Southern Illinois and Chris Lowry that says, this is the pace we want to play, and we're going to establish that on the defensive end of the floor.
Shaw hitting both free throws, 9-point advantage for Southern Illinois. Shaw stepping out on Tollickson. Abu Shamala has checked in for Dan Munson's group. McKenzie, the transfer from Oklahoma. Played his first 2 years for Kelvin Sampson. Pull up three, board pulled down by Falker.
Boy, that's a bad shot, because you can get a 23-footer anytime you want. You're playing right into Southern Illinois' hands if you don't make them guard you.
Tollickson the board. Wilson pushing ahead. Golden Gophers trail by 9. Travel called right there. Southern Illinois basketball.
So Lamar Wilson, junior college transfer, is getting a lesson right now, protecting that basketball when the defensive heat comes right up into his jersey. You've got to do something to get that defense off of you. And that knee-high, simple crossover dribble stuff, it might work in junior college. It won't work against Southern Illinois.
Jamaal Tatum right there. He's got 9 off the mark in that spot. Wilson hitting. Lamar Wilson drills that one, and it's a 6-point game.
Minnesota right back to that 2-3 zone that worked well for them in the first half. No need to chase those Southern Illinois guards around on the perimeter. Claps things in and challenge shooters when you get a chance.
That field goal, by the way, for Minnesota, first field goal since 5:07 left in the first half. Again, the guards, Chris Lowry needs him to be a little better than that.
But they make up for it because the other guards' numbers aren't much better.
Sure.
Because they are climbing into you. But that's been the MO for Southern Illinois really over the years, even there through 5 straight NCAAs. Defensively, they're Sweet 16. Offensively, they're NIT at times.
Tatum pulls down the board, looking to push the pace. Southern Illinois just has not been able to get into sync offensively. I think the other thing, as far as the guards, you know they're going to defend, Jimmy. They'll get points off their defense. But if you're running a 3-guard offense, if the guards don't play well, it's going to be difficult for you to maintain any type of consistency.
Yeah, because they're getting the shots. Yeah, you're exactly right. They've got to knock things down. Falker can only do so much. He and Shaw inside.
There is Matt Shaw right there. Shaw's been a big factor today, inside and outside. And it was like they immediately took advantage when Tollickson went to the bench with 3 fouls.
Matt Shaw squats in the weight room, 565 pounds. He benches a little over 300 pounds. What he lacks in height at 6'7", he makes up for with explosiveness and strength in his lower body and in his shoulders. That's why he can score around that rim with 15 points today.
The junior from Centralia, Illinois. Largest lead of the game, 9 for the Salukis. Mullins, quick hands, and now stepping in is Wesley Clemmons, and they're going to call a foul on him.
Just watch, though, anytime Minnesota on the perimeter doesn't face up, and there you see number 34, Damian Johnson, never faced up to make the pass, bad things are going to happen to you because the white jerseys are going to just swarm you on any kind of a lazy habit pass. Face up, be strong, own your spot if you're Minnesota when you have the basketball in your hands. It's your spot. It's not the defender's spot, it's your spot. Own it.
9 of the shot clock, McKenzie.
He is no threat to go anywhere with his left hand, McKenzie. The more you watch him play, the more it's revealed.
Clemmons couldn't get it to go. Falker and the foul. Randal Falker doing the work down low.
He had 17 points and 16 rebounds versus Bradley in the Missouri Valley Tournament Championship game. He does it with strength, and he also does it because he has a rare combination of he's good with his right paw and he's good with his left paw around the rim. Those guys are hard to guard.
All right, Ravi. All hail the Missouri Valley Conference. How about that? Another win.
A statement win for Missouri State. And you look at the non-BCS upsets. We've got to get this corrected. That's not right. There's nothing mid-major about these programs. They just don't have the power football thing behind them. And now add Missouri State to that list. Boy, Nathan Ballou and Blake Ahern, Missouri State, you know, they had as good a RPI as anyone in the Missouri Valley last year at the end. Didn't get in. I think they play this year with a real chip on their shoulder. That's a statement win, not only for Missouri State, but for the Missouri Valley.
Let me ask you this. You look at a conference like the CAA that boasted George Mason last year. Hofstra didn't get in, should have. They had 4 teams with 24 or more wins. We mentioned Creighton, Southern Illinois, Wichita State, now Missouri State. Could you see a day where Missouri Valley would get 4 teams in?
Certainly. Yeah, I think we're on the cusp of that this year. Because, again, they have the nation's attention from what they did last year. And now with a win like that from Missouri State, and Wichita State's had some good ones already, you're going to see the Missouri Valley this year, I think, not only flirt with 3, but maybe even flirt with 4.
Fans on their feet for the Salukis. They lead by 12. Under 15 to go first half. Shot clock under 10. Tatum setting it up. Gets the screen from Shaw. Kicks out Mullins. Good hands there by Coleman. And they're going to say shot clock violation. And it'll be Minnesota basketball. Now, Feast Week presented by Lowe's continues later today, 4:30. Tennessee and North Carolina victimized by the non-BCSers, as it will be Butler and Gonzaga later on. That will be at 7 Eastern in the Dick's Sporting Goods NIT season tip-off. Defense continues to assert itself for the Salukis. Shaw goes down hard. He's got 15, and he'll go to the line for a chance at 2 more. Matt Shaw, the junior, fouled out yesterday against Arkansas in the 61-53 loss with 7 points and 3 boards. A season ago, averaged 10 and just under 6.
You know, and you look at kids that play for Missouri State or Butler or Old Dominion. They have guys that have rotated through this exact facility we're in today, the Milk House, and played a ton of AAU basketball against the kids that go on to the UConns and the North Carolinas and the Dukes of the world. And that gap, as far as I'm not sure I'm good enough to play against you, just continues to get narrower and narrower and narrower. And as a result, those non-BCS schools starting to rack up more and more wins against those power conferences. The intimidation factor is just not what it used to be.
I don't care how many scouting services and camps there are. I think that the non-BCS teams take advantage of 2 things. Recruiting mistakes that are made by the major schools on players, and also players that get better. We talked about Jared Jordan in the Marist game. Okay, maybe couldn't have played for UConn out of high school, but certainly could come off the bench for them now.
And you know what? That's one thing that's so hard to define as a recruiter. You can see that a kid has a stroke or a kid can really run a basketball club. You can't see, does he love the game? I mean, really, really love the game, and is going to put the effort in on the floor on his own to become a better basketball player. It's that passion that drives recruiters nuts, trying to figure out, do you have it or do you don't?
How about Matt Shaw, another three? He's got 20. Timeout on the court. It's all Salukis in this one. Southern Illinois leading by 17. And how about the big guy doing the job?
Matt Shaw is an inside-outside threat on a pretty good passing club right now that's knocking down shots.
Are looking at Expedition Everest at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park. Nail-biting hairpin turns hurl you through Forbidden Mountain, but beware the snarling beast who watches over his domain, the Yeti. Back inside the milk house, no sign of the Yeti. Although the Golden Gophers probably feel like they've been attacked by one defensively, as the Salukis lead it by 17. Look at that run right there.
That's a sprint. Dumbo the elephant was enough of an adventure for me, much less climbing on one of those roller coasters. So you look at a kid like Mullins out here, he's just a tough-as-nails point guard. Overlooked by the Illinois and different schools that surrounded him when he was in high school, because the one knock on him was he couldn't really shoot the ball. But you've got to look at what can he do. Boy, he can run a club and he can defend, and a turnover there, but he was the Valley Freshman of the Year last year because of what he can do, not what he can't. .0 student. He actually clept out of calculus before he ever got to college. That means he took the calculus test. He did so well on it, they said, you don't need to take calculus at the college level. You're already past it. And that's impressive to me.
If they locked the two of us together in a room right now with that calculus test and we were able to basically combine on it, how do you think we'd do?
First of all, I couldn't spell clept. That's where I got hung up. He clept out of calculus. That's how high IQ Bryan Mullins is. His dad's a very successful Chicago Board of Trade guy, and Bryan Mullins, that basketball comes from a very influential background with a lot of money, but he plays the game like a kid that has a no-car garage house instead of a 4-car garage house. And that's a great trait for any person to have.
That's a 2 right there as Boyle hits. And the lead 16 for the Salukis. And again, Southern Illinois just will not stop defensively. Offensive foul, and how about Falker? 12:19 to go second half. They're up 16, and the big guy's right there to draw the contact.
Yeah, when you put that ball on the floor against Southern Illinois, you have to know exactly what you're doing, because the help defender is going to rotate into the picture sooner or later, usually sooner than later. Tell you what, against Southern Illinois, you could call a foul on almost every possession. But because they're so physical for 40 minutes and 35 seconds of every possession, you just have to adjust to it if you're a Minnesota or an Arkansas or whoever plays Southern Illinois this year, because they're going to climb all up into you. Don't expect that whistle to help you.
Intercepted there by Coleman. Dan Coleman lost the handle for a second. Dangerous pass. Brandon Smith to the corner. Tony Young charged with the foul. He went over the back of Spencer Tollickson. Under 12 timeout a year. It's all Southern Illinois from Orlando. Today's broadcast is available in spectacular high definition on ESPN2 HD, presented by Olivia. Back here inside the Milk House, the Old Spice Classic, part of Feast Week presented by Lowe's. Southern Illinois has jumped out to a 16-point advantage here in the second half. 11:47 to go in this one. John Shambi alongside Jimmy Dykes. Thanks for joining us. Very busy Feast Week. Coming up on ESPN at 4:30. It'll be Tennessee and North Carolina. At 7 on ESPN2, the championship game of the NIT. Gonzaga and Butler. Travel call there. It'll go the other way. Jimmy Dykes, we talk so much about the Southern Illinois defense. Why don't more teams defend like the Salukis?
Well, it all starts with the head, and that's the head coach has to have that personality, that mentality. He has to be sold out to what he wants to accomplish. He has to know it, and then he has to demand it and not ever give in to anything less. And that's what Chris Lowry does. And you know, it all starts with a lineage somewhere, and it started with Chris Lowry with the Gene Cady, Bruce Weber influence upon him as a player and as an assistant coach, and that's all he knows. He doesn't know zone. He doesn't want to know zone. And he also knows what he's looking after in a recruiting process. He will turn down a kid that's a terrific offensive player if he doesn't think he has the mindset or the desire or the toughness to develop into a man-to-man defensive demon. And well, the coaches that have it, you see Chris Lowry right now on that sideline. He's going to be talking about defense right now. He doesn't take a possession off as a coach, as a man-to-man defensive coach, and he does not let his players take a possession off.
I think as well there's an energy aspect in players. I think a lot of times we act on the assumption that every player should play with the same effort or energy level, and I think that there's almost a skill involved in the high energy players and the high effort players that are somewhat more predisposed to play that way.
Well, the thing about Southern Illinois, watching them even practice over the years, and I think Chris has to have his pulse of his team. They can wear each other out during practices because of how hard they guard. And Chris Lowry's the kind of guy, if he would ever get a BCS Power League job, okay, like a North Carolina or an Indiana, he would not change what he does. He would go after the same type of athletes, maybe a little better skilled offensively, but he would not overlook, do you have the heart and a big enough Valentine to defend like I want to defend? It's ingrained in that guy, and it's not going to go away.
Shaw hits the first.
Hope that answered your question.
Absolutely.
Not every head coach has that ingrained in him.
That's Shaw at the line, having himself a heck of a day. He's got 21. Make it 22. That matches his career high. Had 22 in a game against Indiana State. And that was 2 seasons ago. So the junior having himself a tremendous day. And look at the defense. They do not stop up 20.
Now, they're a one-man press at times, putting heat on that basketball. Now, you get around that timeline, you can't flirt around with it. You either have to go or back up, but you get indecisive, the turnover waiting to happen.
Falker with the basketball, closing it on 10 minutes to go in this one. All Salukis. That shot short from Tatum. Jimmy, there are points in the game where a team has to respond. Since Minnesota took its first and only lead 20-19, 4:28 to go first half, SIU has outscored the Gophers 28-9.
They haven't been able to get good open looks, Minnesota. The offensive rebounding hasn't been there because Southern Illinois also gang rebounds well because they're only 6'7" across their front line. They have to have all 5 guys on that defensive glass. And that sums it up right there. A lot of one-on-one in their offense. Not very many passes leading to baskets. And a plethora of turnovers.
McKenzie off balance. Rebound, Tony Young. Tatum amongst the trees couldn't get it to go, but he gets the rebound. the 6'2 guard, able to come out of there with it. New shot clock. Salukis by 18.
You talked about it earlier. If Southern Illinois gets just a little bit of height off of their bench to come on, you know, the Foster kid or Boyle, then they're set for a pretty good run in March.
Here at the Old Spice Classic, Minnesota taking on Southern Illinois from Orlando, Florida, inside the Milk House, Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex. John Shelby alongside Jimmy Dykes. This all part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. Arkansas winner earlier today. They have already sealed a spot in the final. Chris Lowry's team trying to pick up a win. They lost to Arkansas yesterday. And coming up in a bit, it'll be Western Michigan and West Virginia. The winner there will meet Arkansas in the championship game on Sunday. Falker again working on Talixon. Kick out to Shaw. New career high for Matt Shaw. He's got 25. He is fun to watch. He will get down on the blocks, take the elbow in the nose, go to the glass, and then step out and hit the three. Timeout on the court. Southern Illinois leads it by 21.
You win a lot of basketball games, no matter if you're Southern Illinois or the Florida Gators, with guys like Matt Shaw, but because they're ultimate team guys and they're versatile. They can stick shots, they can make passes, they can also convert at the rim, they can get on the offensive glass. They're just in the right place at the right time. They get in the vision of the passer. They know how to play the game, and they play really, really hard. He can score inside, but he can also step out and stretch the defense. He's just a very good teammate in the locker room, on the bus, eating the pregame meal. He gives up his body for the team. He'll set screens. He'll take a shot to the chops like you talked about. And that's why Southern Illinois is 2 NCAAs in Chris Lowry's first 2 years, and will be right back there knocking on a third one in 3 for him, I think.
Yeah, overall 5 straight NCAA tournaments for the Salukis. Feast Week rolling on here in Orlando, presented by Lowe's. The Old Spice Classic, the first ever Old Spice Classic. Chris Lowry, just 34 years of age. Southern Illinois player from 90 to 94. Look how good they have been.
Well, they're in a group of, I think, 15 teams that have been to 5 straight NCAAs. They're in there, mentioned with the big guns, the Dukes and programs like that. That's a model of consistency, and the reason why, even when the head coaching changes have taken place, from Bruce Weber to Painter to Chris Lowry, the philosophy has not. So the kids you recruit to this system, this has been a constant flow of toughness, defensive-minded, score any way we can possibly create some points. That's why they've gone to 5 straight NCAAs.
Fans really appreciating the effort of the Salukis. It'll stay right here.
Well, this is why that common thread has gone through the Saluki program. Bruce Weber right there in the middle. Just all about toughness. His Illinois squad backed it up with a trip to the Final Four. Matt Painter, the same kind of guy. He played for Gene Cady and understands the importance of defending the different spots on the floor. And then Chris Lowry, who talked about it yesterday, got introduced to Chris Lowry when I was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State. He came off the bench as the 6th man in a Holiday Classic up in Chicago. And our staff at Oklahoma State, Bill Self, Rob Evans, and I didn't really know a lot about him, and he lit us up. And then Coach Sutton lit us up in the locker room afterwards. That's how it works. Someone lights you up, and you got to light someone else up. Got burnt twice that day, by Chris Lowry and by Eddie Sutton.
So were you sitting there pointing at Bill Self saying, Bill, I thought you were the one.
We were all pointing at each other, but we all wore different size pants by the time the day was over because our backside had shrunk.
Southern Illinois leading this one by 18, led by Matt Shaw, who's got 25.
ESPN2's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Old Spice Deep Cleansing Body Wash. Nothing cleans deeper.
Back here in Orlando, it's the Old Spice Classic, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's, as Southern Illinois leads this one by 18. Chris Lowry's team comfortably ahead, really making an impression defensively, and they will be one of the top contenders in the Missouri Valley Conference. Creighton as well, and how about Missouri State, a win over Big Ten power Wisconsin earlier today. Lefty jumper there from Bryan Mullins. Jimmy Dykes, so much success in the NCAA tournament by the Missouri Valley Conference, and last year 2 teams in the Sweet 16.
Well, you know what? That league has won 13 ball games in the NCAA tournament over the last 11 years, basically. They've knocked off teams like Oklahoma and Kansas and Illinois, Pittsburgh, Florida, UCLA. The Missouri Valley has played 35 games in the NCAA tournament since 1994. In 32 of those ball games, the Missouri Valley has been the higher seed. And, you know, but I think that's starting to come back to their favor just a little bit. The conference RPI has gone from 14 in 2003 to number 6 last year. So they'll start getting some better brackets as far as seed purposes, and that even draws you more to the attention of the Missouri Valley Conference and their chance to go deep in March.
Yeah, I think that it slowly but surely, it's one of those deals, kind of like what happened with Gonzaga. Every year they'd be put in a spot where they wouldn't receive a very good seeding, and then they'd move along a little bit, and now they're essentially considered a major program, and they get that higher seed, so they're not matching up every single year in that dreaded 8-9 game, which is, you know, where a lot of the Missouri Valley Conference type teams are.
Well, you know, they've proven they can play with the best out there. Southern Illinois, Missouri State, Creighton, Wichita State, they've proven it. And I've never agreed with this philosophy that the selection committee goes by, that it's a rule with them, that past history, past success of a league has no bearing on seedings or putting teams into the field. I think history is a great indicator of the future, and you have to rely and trust the fact that, wait a minute, this is a Missouri Valley Conference that has had success in this NCAA tournament over the years. They've proven it. I think that's something you have to at least factor in. I know they don't factor it in. I think they should when it comes to seeding teams out of a non-BCS that's proven themselves.
Tony Young drills that 3. It's a 23-point bulge for the Salukis.
Well, they share the basketball well, and they know personnel. They drive for others. Chris Lowry loves that type of offense. I mean, he's so big on team defense. He's just as big on team offense. And anytime he sees one of his guards drive with a purpose of getting a kick for an open teammate, he applauds.
Just another 6 minutes to go. Minnesota with only 34 points in this game. Lawrence Westbrook handling the basketball, the freshman from Chandler, Arizona. Lawrence McKenzie to Brandon Smith. And again, the defensive pressure just won't stop from the Salukis. Tony Boyle pulls down the board. And Bryan Mullins pushing ahead.
The Southern Illinois fans behind the Salukis bench, they cheer just about as loud for a defensive stop as they do for a made basket. Look at that group right there. The next time the Salukis get a defensive stop, you'll see them stand up and cheer like they just made a three-pointer. So they appreciate the style of their team, and I love seeing that.
That Shaw is going to go to the line. He already has a career-high 25.
You know, the other thing about the Missouri Valley, for the most part, it's a league that the coaches own the players. The players don't own the coaches, because there's not those big promises made on the recruiting trail that a lot of the big programs have to make to get the elite athletes. So as a result, Chris Lowry, Dana Altman, and Barry Henson, and on down the list, they own their kids, and their kids know it. So they go out and they bust their tail every day because of it.
I think the other thing, too, that point dovetails into, and an advantage that the mid-majors have, or non-BCSs, Jimmy keeps hitting me with the ruler. The advantage and what the point that dovetails into is the kids stay for 4 years. So what ends up happening is you have a team like Southern Illinois that boasts 2 starting seniors, 2 starting juniors, and the experience factor always weighs in a huge way.
That's when Southern Illinois has been at their best, when they've had those upperclassmen that have come through that system, and that's what Chris Lowry has to work with this year. No, he also has a team. Talking to their staff this week, it's been interesting to just kind of listen to them talk about the Salukis. And they have said, we have a bunch of guys that it does not bother them to eat a pregame meal at Denny's. It doesn't bother them to stay at a hotel that you have an outside entry into your room. What bothers them is when somebody scores on them. And that's why they're awfully hard to beat right there.
Arkansas has already advanced to the final of the inaugural Old Spice Classic. And they will await the winner of West Virginia and Western Michigan. That'll be a little bit later on. Offensive foul. Southern Illinois just will not stop at the defensive end. 22-point advantage. No time down for our Old Spice player of the game. Brought to you by Old Spice. There he is, Matt Shaw. I have a feeling that that's not the only honor he's going to receive today, but we'll wait a little bit longer, Jimmy. Not to put any pressure on you.
He looked up at the big screen at the end of the milk house, saw that he was the Old Spice player of the game. He deserves it. Rugged competitor.
I read his lips. He actually said, "Where are my ears?"
That's what he's wanting, isn't he? Well, Minnesota, you know, it's, I wouldn't label it a rebuilding year as such when you're coming off of a year that they went to the NIT, but so many new faces. So it's a learning experience for Minnesota in this tournament. What Dan Munson doesn't want to have happen is his kids lose confidence by being here. They were stung by Iowa State on Tuesday night before this tournament started on Thursday. They were beaten yesterday by Marist. They come back again today, and you don't want to get your dauber down on November the 24th. Sometimes it's difficult to get it back up with a bunch of new faces that he has right now to work with.
Ball deflected. It'll stay Southern Illinois basketball. Got a timeout on the court. Under 4 timeouts. Southern Illinois leading this one 58-28. Chris Lowry got to be pleased with what he's seen so far. Southern Illinois leading this one 58-38. 3:52 to go second half. And Tyrone Green at the line.
Well, the Missouri Valley's had some.
Check that, actually. Ball being inbounded by Bryan Mullins.
But Tony Green is at the line.
Yeah, he is.
He's standing there waiting for the ball to be inbounds. Oscar Robertson played in the Missouri Valley. Larry Bird, Xavier McDaniel, Percy Hawkins, Wes Unseld. Talent.
Man, at the buzzer right there. Jumper is good. And Clemmons over by us showed a good hustle. Now Chris Lowry emptying the bench. Deion Coopwood has checked in, and Kobe Aqua, the senior from Ghana, has checked in. The big guy, 7'1".
He's really a good story. Number 11 in white right there in the middle from Ghana. Can really run. Ran a 5:30 mile this year in their conditioning. Began his college career on an academic scholarship at Butler. He's very young as a basketball player in terms of minutes on the floor. He's a senior. Kobe Aqua is an electrical engineering major. Coaches say he studies in the library till 3 or 4 a.m. every night.
How about Deion Coopwood, the junior from Calumet City, Illinois? Hit that triple. 23 points, the advantage. Make it 20. 64-44 our score. The reserves in for Chris Lowry. There's Kobe Aqua.
There's my guy taking advantage of the opportunity that he has. Wants to be an electrical engineer. Runs like a deer, just has not played a lot of basketball, but he says, I don't stay there as long as some of those other kids from foreign countries. They're there till 6 or 7 in the morning. It's like going to a movie. That's how much he enjoys studying. I like that.
Just like you and I. Love hitting the library. Now Feast Week presented by Lowe's. Saturday night, Florida and Kansas. And tomorrow night from Las Vegas. That'll be at 11 Eastern. The #1 team in the country back to work. Billy Donovan's team hooking up with the number 12 Jayhawks. Feast Week presented by Lowe's. Closing it on 2 minutes to go in this one. Southern Illinois leading it 64-44.
Kansas was thumped early this year by Oral Roberts. Caleb Green, probably the best player in the mid-con, had a big game. I expect Bill Self to have defensive intensity in that ball game regardless of what happens on the scoreboard. There's our guy.
This one just going back and forth, almost basket interference, and a foul down low. We'll see who they got.
Kobe Aqua.
They got Kobe Aqua.
Again, began his pursuit of a degree with a academic scholarship at Butler, then transferred to a smaller school. They actually got him playing basketball, and then they dropped the sport, so he ends up at Southern Illinois. And the coaches just say, you talk about a pleasure to coach and be around, and a guy that really appreciates the opportunities that he has here in this country. Say he leaves practice about 7 o'clock, gets a bite to eat, and will be in the electrical engineering building from 8 o'clock at night till about 3 in the morning. Sleep about 5 hours, right back in the classroom, right back to practice, right back to that electrical engineering building.
Travel called there as the Salukis are trying to break the pressure. Chris Lowry a little frustrated with the reserves.
He caught my attention on Wednesday's practice. They had 1 hour practice in here, and he stopped practice and said, get on the line. And I knew right then that Chris Lowry was serious about what he wanted done.
Lob the other way, no good. How about the ups on the other end by Tyrone Green? I mean, look at this, the takeoff and the explosion. Salukis lost a tough one yesterday in overtime to Arkansas. Defensive battle. They didn't score in OT. Lost 61-53. Arkansas in our first game beat Marist. They advance to the finals 73-64 over the Red Foxes. And Arkansas awaiting the winner of Western Michigan and West Virginia. Well, our Old Spice players already been given out, but now
the
important stuff.
Yeah, who gets the ears? The Walt Disney World Mickey Mouse ears. You and I get to decide every game who deserves a set of ears, and we've got to go with what the Old Spice player of the game tells us too. Matt Shaw was terrific today, and not just because of his scoring, but his toughness, his ruggedness around the rim, the fact that he defends his spot just like everybody else does for Southern Illinois. So we now have 4 guys on our all ears team so far. Charles Thomas won it right off the bat. James Smith from Marist. Sonny Weems came back earlier today and gets a set of ears from us. And now Matt Shaw. And I expect all 4 of those guys tomorrow to be walking around Disney World with their ears on. I mean, that's a valued thing now in college basketball. A set of ears from you and I.
No question about it. Damian Johnson drills that one. Travel right there, turnover. It'll be Minnesota basketball. There's a minute to go in this one. And the turning point in the game, just under 5 minutes to go first half. Minnesota took the lead 20-19, and the Salukis put on a burst from that point and have not looked back. Good work down low by Injun Narumbi.
Well, seldom will Southern Illinois lose a ball game when they creep towards 70 points, because that's where they can have some confusion sometimes, is on the offensive end. But they've had 9 or 10 guys score in today's ball game. They've shared the ball well, and their defense is going to be a constant. Group of kids that, again, they don't mind riding in a 12-passenger van to a game if they have to. Not that they're that kind of a program, but because they fly just like the big boys. But if you told them we're going to have to take a 4-hour van ride and the game starts at 6 a.m., they'd say, who am I guarding, coach? Just when I get there, just tell me who I'm guarding. That's all I care about.
Coach, who do I have?
Who do I have?
Well, a tough loss the other day for Chris Lowry. I have to think he's happy with the way his team responded here today.
Well, he said he wanted his kids to play with poise and stay with their identity, and I think they did that. Their energy level wasn't quite there the first 20 minutes. They gave an awful lot yesterday on the floor against the Arkansas Razorbacks. And but I think they responded well. And you expect guys like Shaw, who's an upperclassman, and Tony Young's a senior, and Tatum a senior, to take leadership roles, and how they played the second 20 minutes certainly